bus ride to the airport. From there, we flew on a 5.5 hour flight to DC, which was actually not as bad as I expected it to be. It was really nice. So it's great. When we landed in DC, we got on a charter bus this time, which was really comfy. We went to the city, went to our hotel, got to unpack our rooms, and then we got to take an optional walk to the grocery store to get food and stuff like that for our hotel rooms, which was really helpful. But a lot of people ended up buying more food than they thought they'd need due to the fact that we were only in our hotel rooms for like an hour or two a day. So yeah. Day 2 was the Air and Space Museum, was mainly what we did. We were not with the Close-Up Foundation this day. We were just with our chaperones and teachers, which allowed us to like go at our own pace, which was fantastic. It was really cool. Everybody loved the Pepsi plane. Some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen. I'm a space nerd. Took a lot of pictures. Really cool to see all this stuff. And I didn't know some of it existed, which was great. Yeah. After that, we went to some food trucks to get lunch. And we ended up eating lunch by the Washington Monument, which wasn't on our agenda, but I'm so glad we got to see it. It was way bigger than I expected it to be, which was awe-striking. It was really cool. We went to the Holocaust Museum. I didn't take pictures because it didn't feel like the right time, but that was something we did as well. Day 3, we started with the FDR Memorial, which was really pretty. It had a lot of cherry trees, lots of waterfalls. It was really simple, but really cool to see. And then after that, we went to the MLK Memorial, which was even simpler, but it's also really cool because the amount of artwork and detail and historic accuracy that goes into all the monuments is incredible to see. Really, really cool. The Jefferson Memorial was really fun. It was not sure how to describe it other different from the other monuments that we visited because they all had something of them that was the same, but they also had like their own unique elements. I guess this one was that it was kind of similar to like the Lincoln Memorial with its build, but it was different because it was for a different person. But you got to learn a lot just by like going into the monuments and seeing like how the structure represented the person, seeing like their historic quotes on the wall, seeing what they actually looked like, which was really cool. We also went to Arlington National Cemetery, which was way bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's crazy to see how many people are buried there, like how they put it all together. We went to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and we got to see the changing of the guard, which was really cool because everything they do is so in sync and so robotic. It was insane. It was really cool. We went to the Iwo Jima Memorial and it ended up starting to rain, which wasn't a bad thing like I was guessing it was going to be. It was really warm rain, which was good. And we were having a lot of fun. So they just let us kind of walk around in the rain. I did not get any pictures of the memorial. He did, luckily. So that was cool. We also went on a scavenger hunt to find specific wars on the memorial. And then there was a double rainbow, which was even better. This day we got to meet Representative Larson, which was pretty cool because he's a cool guy. He answered all of our questions and we got to take a picture with him. It was really cool to talk to somebody who represents our state in like the actual government. So that was really cool too. Yeah, he was really nice. He told us all about his job. He told us about the committees he works on and other committees that happen. We got to go into some rooms to see some like professional meetings happen, which was also cool because now I know how stuff works. So that should help me in history someday. Then we went to the Capitol building. This was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole trip because I've seen pictures of the Capitol and I've always wondered what it looked like inside. I didn't actually think we were going to be going into like the Capitol, and then I was like, oh, we're going into the Capitol, which was fantastic. I was so glad we got to see that because it's really cool. The Museum of American History was next, and it had lots of stuff in it that didn't know were like significant to American history. And then I found out and I was like, oh, so that's how this is how this happened. And it was really cool to see just like the variety of stuff that they had there. They had everything from like the Civil War to the Revolutionary War to piracy to the telegraph to fashion to transportation. It was really cool. The Lincoln Memorial was fantastic. Again, a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be, but really cool. I love that they had the Gettysburg Address on the wall because at first I didn't know that's what that was. I thought it was an excerpt from like a different speech, and then they were like, no, it's Gettysburg Address. I was like, oh, that's even cooler. I love they had like some of the significant things that he said on the walls. It was great to see that. Really cool to be there and see that, because then it was even more historically impactful, which was great. This was the night that we stayed out later so that we could see some of the memorials when it got dark, which makes it a lot more realistic. We went to the Vietnam Memorial first. It was insane to see the number of names on that wall. It was really quiet, really a respectful kind of thing. Really gave us a perspective on like what people have done for our country, which was really cool. After that, we went to the World War II Memorial, which I didn't really know was a thing, and then I saw it and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. It was great to see like all the different parts of everything and all the detail and effort that people put into the memorials to like preserve the history of our country, which is great. This is the Korean War Memorial. This one was my favorite of the memorials we visited because of all of the details that went into it and the effort to make it so realistic. When we first came through, it was light out, so you could see that the statues were made out of stone and that there was light like on them. But when it got dark and we walked back by, the way that they were illuminated made it look like they were real people, which is how it was designed, and the effect was really stunning, which is cool. And I love the way that they used the laser to carve the faces of people into the marble, because that's just that's a great extra touch to make sure that they're not forgotten. Day 5, we went to Philadelphia. We got up early to drive and see stuff there, which was really cool because I'm glad we did that because that has a lot of fun stuff there. We went to the Hall of Signers first. We loved seeing the statues. That was a highlight of the trip for everybody, whether it was like funny or it was like, oh, this is what these people looked like. It was cool. Also, there was a lot of them, so we didn't know that many people signed those documents, and that was cool to learn. We went to the Libertyville, which was also really cool to see because I didn't know it was made of black iron. I thought it was made of bronze. That was a revelation. It was also really cool to see because I didn't know how big it was and how significant the crack was, and they were telling us all about the history of it cracked here, it was mended, and then it cracked again, like it hasn't been rung since. And that was cool to see how they made an effort to preserve that little bit of history. And they also went to Independence Hall, which was really cool to see because it was really crazy to think that we were like in the rooms that where like the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence were signed and like all those important decisions were made. And that was really cool because I didn't even think I'd be there. That was cool to be there. Then we went to the White House, which was really fun. On the last day, yes, this was the last day in DC. Usually you can go up to the fence that is behind where we are, but they were expecting a protest, so they kept us at a distance. But one thing that we found really funny was we got to see the Secret Service kind of appear on the roof, and we didn't know where they had come from. So we saw them appear, and we were like, what? So that was fun. And we had a fun time there because we were looking for the president. We did not see him, but who knows? They're just like cool. And then the Museum of Natural History was amazing. I did not know what they had there. And it turns out they had way more than I thought they did. They had several sections, my favorite of which was the fossils, because it's crazy to like see the actual size of creatures that we've never seen with like our own eyes. But I also loved seeing the Hope Diamond because I am a big fan of history that has kind of a creepy element to it, and the Hope Diamond for sure has that.
So how big is that in real life?
It's about this big.
Really?
I forgot the exact number of carats it is, but it's
That's big.
incredibly, it's really cool to see. Pictures cannot do it justice. It's amazing. Yeah, they also had the Hall of Mammals, so they had really cool taxidermy of animals, and that was impressive to see because you're probably never going to see some of these animals in real life, which was cool to get a perspective on like what they looked like and where they lived. And they also did a special effect when we were in the savannah section. So they dimmed the lights, they put on like thunder noises, and they made it seem like it was raining, which was fun. And then we took a detour and got to see the founding documents, which was not something that was originally on our schedule. I'm glad we did it though. We had the option of going to the art gallery to sit down in the air conditioning or to go see this. And I chose to go along and see this, which is amazing. I did not expect the documents to be so faded though. I don't know why I didn't expect that, but it was kind of a shock, but in a good way. But it was really cool to see the originals because that's like the original founding documents. And then, yeah.
So this is the other student's reflection. He said, and one thing that I have appreciated is that I see a lot of growth, like personal growth, because it's oftentimes the first time that they've been in a hotel room with other people their own age, and they have to get themselves to bed and figure out showers. And, you know, so I've seen a lot of that sort of growth, and then, you know, lots of landmarks, and we really pack so much into a short time. So that's what she said. And then
overall, this was an amazing experience, whether it was being silly and having fun with my friends, this is some of the stuff we did. We got ice cream, we goofed around with the statues, which was great. We hung out on the bus. That was really cool. Got to get closer to a lot of friends. Or if it was seeing some of the coolest structures and statues in all of American history, these are my favorites. I couldn't pick like 3 because it was all so cool. I loved it. We loved it. It was so great. This is our
so
picture.
wonderful. Yeah, I think that might have been my favorite presentation all year.
Yeah, you're an amazing
Yeah,
speaker.
you're a great speaker. What grade are you in?
I'm an 8.
Yeah, well done.
I had a little cousin go on the trip. I got one text message and a photo from the bus the whole trip. So I wrote was hugely successful. I guess he's not my cousin now, my cousin's big. He's my nephew. I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Okay. A small amount of students got to go because I know it's incredibly expensive. And you guys do fundraising, correct, to offset that so that it opens up opportunity for other students. So would you suggest this to someone who was kind of on the fence about going? Would you?
Absolutely. That is an experience I would never pass up if I had the opportunity to do it again.
Okay.
Like it's completely worth every cent that it costs to go on. The memories are priceless.
Okay. And did you participate in fundraising and getting yourself there?
I did. They
Good
had a lot of craft fairs and things you could sell, which was an easy way to build up some of the money that it costs to go. I raised about half, and my parents helped me with the other half. So it was kind of a meet in the middle sort of situation, which is an easy way to raise the money that you need to go.
It's great. Anyway, I mean, you worked for it.
Yeah.
So, and then you showed everything that's your favorite, but what was your most memorable moment from the trip?
My most memorable moment was probably when we were going to the Washington Monument, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be cool. And I was just kind of thinking about like lunch and stuff. And then we got there and I was like, whoa, this is really cool.
I'm definitely selfish. I like being with them when they see the National Mall for the first time because it's such a cool thing.
It was really cool just like standing at the base of the Washington Monument and being like, if anywhere that I turn right now, I can see something that has history. Like I can see the Lincoln Memorial, I can see the Jefferson Memorial, I can see the White House, I can see the Capitol building. just everywhere you turn, there was something cool and fun to look at, which was probably my most memorable experience.
Well, I hope you can give that testimony to future students, as a way to get kids involved.
She did.
I did it
Last week.
Last week I got excused from my classes to go give presentations. It was fantastic.
Good job.
Can you still climb the Washington Monument? know
I
one
wish.
person-
So, yes,
Yeah.
you can, but our group is too large.
Sure, yeah,
And you
yeah,
have
yeah.
to make the reservation, I think, 30 days in advance, and we can't coordinate,
Sure, yeah, yeah.
can't do that.
Awesome.
One of the last. But one of the things that you said that I was really proud of is that how respectful you were at times and that you needed to be. And that takes a lot of maturity. And so thank you for teaching that. That's awesome. Thank you.
Good citizens of the.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Excellent job. Thank you.
Well, that was definitely one of the best movies we've seen all year.
Right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's so wonderful.
Me and you.
And to remember everything, I
Yeah.
would never, I'm like, where's my cue card?
Awesome.
As I said, you get us all tour of these.
Yeah,
I'll go with her.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so if there's any public comment, so we're gonna be moving on to new business. It's first review. Capital facilities plan.
See if I can. Okay, so I am pinch hitting for Mr. Yeager today. He had some other commitments with his children. I said, oh, it's good. This is the first read. He'll be here on June 11th, but this is something that we do every 6 years. However, there is an addition this year. Whatcom County requested a 20-year projection because they're doing the Growth Management Act. And so they received that from other districts, but this is set up for the projection 20 years out. It's very heavily accurate up to the first 6 years, and then it expands out. The farther out you get, the less accurate it is, depending on how much is developed and what you end up having for impacts. It is set up for SEMA mitigation fees down the road, so large developments where, whether it be environmental or affecting our school district, and not for impact fees. And so this way, impact fees would affect neighborhood growth. And we heard last fall, I believe, that the emphasis would be on making sure we protect the district with SEMA mitigation. So that's how it's set up. So when something does get developed and they go for permitting, then we have a place at the table to talk about the impact to the district. It's just a read this time and then ask for approval next meeting.
Out of town person. Anybody have any questions? Okay, for now.
If you do have any, you could let us know over the next week or so that Jay has time to gather those responses and be able to get them back. That'd be helpful.
Obviously, it's tough to project after 2 years.
Say that again.
It's tough to project 2 to 3 years out, let alone.
Capital.
Yeah.
So. Okay,
Okay.
moving on, first review, 2025-26 Latinos in Action MOU.
So we've talked about Latinos in Action before, and if you remember, Mr. Harble and I attended a leaders breakfast at Western. They had their conference, and then since then, Mr. Doffing and Caleb Benson went to Ferndale to see their class in action. And so this is a memorandum of understanding to establish an elective class at Meridian High School for Latinos in Action. The cost is $12,000. We have a grant from Boundary 10. They're going to provide 10,000 of it. And so we'll be able to provide the rest of it. You'll be getting that MOU probably in the next meeting or so. They haven't developed it yet, but they've given us confirmation that they're going to provide the funding for that. So this is a first read. second read will come back on the 11th of June, but this is for running a class at the high school. Fingerprints in action.
Have we done any surveys and the basis for bringing this in
Huge emphasis of students at the high school.
and
And they
are
actually,
interested and
Yeah.
and ready to go? Okay, great.
yeah, actually originated with students
Fabulous.
reaching out. So
Okay.
Is it like, it's an elective, is it like history or?
it's based on service
Okay.
and mentorship. And there's a composition of the class where you have students, it's a 30-40-30. So students who are advanced learners, students who are traditional learners, and students who may need personalized academic support. So there's some work between administration and the students who desire to get into class. And then an obligation that they have through the agreement is to do mentorship at the lower grades. It's fantastic to watch.
Cool. Well. Moving on to resolution 0325, emergency declaration and waiving bid laws. Looks like we are reviewing and seeking approval this evening. So for this resolution.
Yeah, so for Mr. Yeager, he worked on an issue that we had with a water leak that was on the south side of the middle school. And was originally thought to be a break in the line in the raspberry fields and happened over a weekend for the repair. And so we were not in a position to wait to do bid law. And so this is, we contacted Everson Earthworks and they came out and made the repair and this is approval for us to use them in a short period of time, and we didn't have the ability to go through bid process. And so this is
What was the cost of that?
just under 17,000.
It's Iverson, right?
Sorry, what did I say?
Iverson.
Oh, Iverson, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm assuming this is common verbiage that falls in compliance with anything state level. And other schools have done this before.
Specific state law
Yeah.
requires this. Yep.
Is it just for this one instance, or if that ever happens again, then we can?
Just this one.
Oh, just this
So
one. Oh, that's what I was-
anytime, we've had this happen before when pipes burst, the high school.
Yeah.
And we had to bring in crew to clean it, crew to make the repair. So,
And it sounded like the original estimate was much higher.
more than double.
And normally isn't anything over 10,000 you have to go to bid, is that
The 10,000 is when we need to seek approval.
contract? Oh,
Seek
approval.
approval from the board. So there's two conditions. If it's an ESD contract and if it's over 10,000 in terms of the district or my authority to spend funds.
So when is it to bid?
It depends on what the project is.
Oh.
So it graduates. Yeah, so we have a roster for small work,
Yeah.
but when it gets beyond that, we use the process.
Okay.
But it's fixed.
Mhm.
Yeah, we just need to. basically.
He actually sealed it and bypassed it because it's an outside line, so it's actually super expensive to do the actual repair. He's not recommending cutting into concrete, so. So at the middle, yeah, so.
I like it.
Righty?
So we do the motion?
Oh,
But
yes,
that
we
was the
do.
first.
What's that?
Need a
We
motion.
do need a motion and
Okay.
approval, please.
Ryan, please get a motion to approve resolution 0325.
I'll motion to approve resolution 0325 as presented today.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Hi.
I,
Okay,
Daniel time.
moving on. I've already started.
How's it going?
Well, Lauren, man.
Yeah, how are you?
Good. Got a quick meeting today. Okay, so the,
Turn this fan back on.
I know.
right?
Yeah. it's like a
You
little-
can talk louder if
A little
you want
bit.
to. Well, my notes talking real quick, because I had some notes, the APs a bit high this month, so I wanted to talk through that.
yeah.
It's good. Okay, so This is our enrollment, May compared to April. And as you can see, the core program is down 3 FTE, MP3 is down 2 for a total of 5. That's pretty normal for this time of year. Special ed is also down 4 FTE. Typically that's a good thing, it means kids are getting exited. The running start and dropout engagement are also down 2. And make compared to budget, we're still up quite a bit. Core programs up 32, MP3 is flat at 215. And over in this section here, special education was up 13 enrollment. And dropout engagement was up 5. We're actually right on for running start. This is where I break the part. Okay, so this is April. Let's see if there's wasn't a whole lot to talk about on the revenue side. I mean, there is the large property tax number that comes through in April. I was going to show that to you for the debt service and capital projects funds as well. So 2,412,000. That's April when most of it comes in, a large chunk. We also get a large chunk in October. As you can see, total cash receipts are pretty high. This is the highest month for revenue with that tax receipts coming in 4.9 million. It's the salaries, I mean, that's pretty close to what our average has been. But the accounts payable is obviously high, 960,000. It's mostly 2 large expenditures. We have in fact, I got the wrong document, but I don't know what I see. So it's $250,000 for our insurance that we pay twice a year. So that's quite a bit. And then there was 300,000 to microcomputer systems. That's where Joe is buying the TVs and TV stands and outfitting the buildings with those. And so that came in 2 ways. That's from the tech lending. Yeah, that's from that.
What buildings are getting this? Are we putting money into the middle school? And things like
Well,
that?
it's like those right there. that
So
can
these
be-
devices would move.
Yeah.
But we also don't know when we're gonna do those, so.
Yeah, I can check if yes. Let me see here, this. On the accounts payable report, it does speak to. Which buildings. So this was for IRE. Building A, the high school, and MP3.
So a lot of the projectors were failing from a decade ago, so it's.
I asked a question about that too, so I'm assuming. Let's say we upgrade projectors, TVs, and then in the next 3 years, we get a new middle school. We would put them back in,
Yeah.
yeah. To the best of our ability.
Typically when you do like a rebuild of building, you could get some. Have that heavy money for just pictures and equipment. This would just be a savings on. That saving, sure, to be building.
Or just like we do at our homes, we go around to whatever rooms of other buildings needed equipment that we just upgraded. And replace with the newest equipment, yeah.
Another expenditure that's out of the ordinary is the Washington State Auditor's Office. There's 21,000 there. So you got. That audit is just about done. They finished with their financial and single audit. The single audit is the federal programs. And then they're pretty close to wrapping up the accountability audit. They actually issued the audit report last Friday for the financial single audit. So that's a great big step. there's a. You have to have it in by the end of May. That audit report has to be issued to be considered a low risk audit team. And so this puts us in low risk status for the single audit, the federal audit, which means they only have to audit 25% of our total dollars in federal programs as opposed to 50%. So it saves the district money in audit months. That was a pretty big milestone.
Awesome.
So far in the audit, there haven't been. I mean, it's been a very good audit. Well, very minor recommendations. They will probably have an exit meeting coming pretty soon. We'll schedule that with you. On charge. We'll be setting up the invite. We all the same statement.
Two of us.
And typically 2 is the magic number. If you have 3, then it's a quorum, so you either have to make a public meeting or run 2 separate meetings, so if there are 1 or 2 meetings a while ago. You know, they can thought it's gonna accommodate that. That we have 3 to
We typically stay at 2 to 1, so just whoever has interest.
Yeah.
That ending fund balance of 3.3 million, that's like, is that the 10% number that you wanted to always have?
So. That's kind of like our high mark of the year.
And then those numbers after, that's what it goes down to, expected?
Yeah,
Okay,
so we're trending pretty good to end it. This is right now showing 2.5 million.
Yep.
What I'd like to get to is where our low number is about 2 million, so our low number was in March, it was almost 1.8 million. So I'm not terribly far off of that, but still a good growth. And if one of the biggest factors, we can go out for bonds and your rating that you get. So the rating that you get impacts the interest rate that you're able to receive. It's kind of like a credit report. And probably the largest factor is side like that. So we'll run Moody's will run a bunch of different calculations to various things like revenues compared to expenditures, and fund balance compared to expenditures and that type of thing. And so fund balance ends up being a pretty large one that they'll talk to us about.
Can you remind me what month it is that we ask all the teachers and staff to submit their expenses and things like that? I know there's a month that more of them hit.
May
Yes.
is the
May.
cutoff.
Yeah, so that's May 15th is our cutoff for each of the buildings, but typically the buildings will back that up a couple weeks for all of their staff, because the secretary and the principal will want to have a couple weeks to say, okay, we gave everybody a chance to spend the funds, and now we're gonna look at how much we have left, and we're gonna look at what needs we have, and we're gonna spend some of that on some needs that we have, and maybe build up a little bit of inventory and supplies.
So we might say that in June.
I would say most of that hit this month,
Oh,
so that's
okay.
part why that's larger, yeah.
Well,
It's kind of. I would say we'll get April, May, not as much, it should kind of tail off into the summer months, and we don't have a lot of summer projects scheduled.
It feels like the last couple of years, it's been wrapping up sooner.
Yes,
4 or 5 years ago, it's a while.
yeah, so we put a lot of effort into help. Which is helpful because if we do have some, it just helps with planning. See how much funding we have left at the end of the year to meet our fund balance targets. And then look at the projects that we have.
and that's why I was asking the question, like how accurate is that number if all of those expenses have been through that? the big-
Yeah, it's pretty good, so we have a procedure set in place where. Basically, May 15th is the cutoff. But, I meet with, it's like I met with everybody last month when I was here. And, like any department or building that was a bit behind, I offered them an extra week. So we get, so there were a couple that took advantage of that. And then after that cutoff date, then they have to communicate with me directly to enter any purchase orders. And this month, when I'm meeting with everybody, I check in again and ask them how you're spending your ceiling, you have anything else outstanding. And really what that, it helps in a couple of ways, what we already talked about, knowing how much money you have left at the end of the year. But it also helps with like not getting a lot of stuff in the middle of summer and there isn't anybody to receive it. And our biggest vendor is ACBA. That's what we order a lot of our supplies with. And since they're so, it's basically just like a supply business that works with school districts. So they're used to how schools work. Essentially, what we can do is I've opened up purchase orders for next year. And so once they're done spending out this year, they can place orders to be received in September. And then, so for like the beginning of the school year supplies and whatnot, that percent goes into next year's budget and then they get the stuff right on time to put it out to the buildings. So it's always good to look at this percentage. Because we're really close, but honestly, it just shows that we had some really good budgeting. And that we're pretty late. As we're going through this year, have to make all around the castle for shifts. It's identified that we are running an efficient organization. Essentially, it's after cutting $2 million last year. Then when you're going through it again, that shows you that there isn't a whole lot in excess. Yeah. It's efficient. We are pretty efficient. And I think that's it's kind of a big indicator that we are, it sounds like a lot, making a shift in reductions, $1 million, but comparison to most other school districts, that number is much more significant. It kind of shows that we did it, that we do very good budgeting each year, and we make a lot of efforts to stay within that budget. And then say this year we've been super successful staying within the budget. Beginning in the fall, you remember we set up a lot of additional internal control procedures to ensure we did that. Okay. Okay, so this is the budget status report. This is the general fund. It's basically the same information that you just saw. But that's the tell. I did want to show you, this is the capital projects fund. You can see up at the top which fund it is. And then the month is April. And then right here is the local tax receipts. This is the technology levy, 429,000 was our collections in April. And I think we're tracking as the end of fund balance. And so there are some funds in there for projects that the grants that we received that were just invested most funds for now until we start the projects. And then so all of the dollars that are in the capital projects fund are earmarked for either specific projects or for the technology levy. Some of the earmarked for the secret litigation fees that we've received in the past. Let's have to be. They have a very specific purpose. You have to spend those on basically increasing class size capacity. use it for construction, use it for flying portable buildings, that kind of thing. Fund 30 is the debt service fund. And we received $561,000. And the only thing that the debt service fund does is collect local taxes to pay bonds. So you collect those funds, you accumulate them, and then you pay the bonds out of the amortization schedules. We pay twice a year. We pay December 1st is, and that's a principal interest payment, and then we have a installment payment on June 1st, so that's coming out. Yes. Interest payments, so when you, at the start of a bond, you're paying mostly interest and almost no premium or principal. Now it's kind of flip-flop because we're coming near the end of it. So now we're paying down the bonds quite a bit and we're paying less in interest. So our interest only payment coming up is $159,000. That's almost $17 million bonds that we sold in 2010. And that's all I have for you. Any questions? We are working through the budget process, so we'll probably touch on that. We've been in kind of a little bit of a waiting wave where we went through and we've estimated how much revenue we're gonna get based on what was passed within the legislative session. And that's, again, all estimates, and then we came up with scenarios, we've been running scenarios through making little tweaks here and there to those scenarios and seeing how we balance out. And then we've been waiting for actual revenue allocations to come out. Where we got an email today or yesterday, I can't remember which, from OSBI said it's supposed to come out on Friday. And so next week we'll go and tweak those rules and figure out what the actual allocations are. We're about the budget iteration. This is the board budget iteration that we've gone through. And then from there, we'll see where we balance out. And we'll get together as a budget team. And we'll see if we can make any more reductions or shifts, or if there's maybe some capacity that we can add back some of the reductions that we have in the latest plans that we have. So I mean, it's going to be a really fast grind to get to the end of June. And we have to have everything 100% complete, and then we'll be adopting the budget at the end of the month.
That's the June 25th.
Yeah, June 25th, we need a budget. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
Also got thanks, Andy.
Appreciate it. Yeah, bye. Firework. Joe has to fix it. We just exit out. Thank you. Thank you. Right.
So a little bit sharing what's been going on. This is the last of my classes. I've been going to classes at each of our grade levels throughout the year. This is really been a brainchild of Angie and Lisa to get me some exposure, and it's been awesome to, especially with the little ones, but the older ones as well. But never having taught early elementary, it's pretty fun. You'll notice on the right, the high five that would be experience.
They're gonna do it again next year.
Yeah, oh yeah, I think we're gonna, we didn't do it at the beginning, so I think we'll probably do more.
Yeah.
And then you have some big news.
Yes, my daughter had a granddaughter, or a baby yesterday.
Congratulations.
Number two.
Very cool. So just kudos to our teachers and what they do with our children. It really is unique for, most families don't get to see what we get to see on a daily basis, right? So be in a position where you can experience that. It's good.
I like to see this taking off. Because I know there wasn't as much attempt with your coffee chats or your chats with the doc, but to see something like this, the fruits of the labor and what the public can see, I like that, but.
I think, I do too, and I think, I get a lot out of it, I think it's good to show, but the other thing we've done, which has been really good, is to have me also be positioned with the math night or with other events, and not just, hey, come talk about whatever night.
Less scripted.
We always have an opportunity to highlight and honor people that contribute to the district, and so this year we are part of Region 108, which is the way WASA has broken up the different regions across the state. And so Sarah Morales Cruz on the right, she has just been a huge advocate for our Latino Latinx students at the high school and at the middle school, predominantly for newcomer students, but really for all students. She was one that was that I have been promoting as well. And then, so for her advocacy, and then also Dr. Ramos and Sarah Bernardi and Sweeney, Community Leadership Award for their efforts around both the levy that was successful and also the two bond measures. Even though they weren't successful, it's a big work and hard work that they do for one reason. So we wanted to make sure that they felt gratitude for the work that they did. So WASA puts on a lunch. Is it the schedule to see folks from different districts have their picks as well. They're called up and read about it. Lots of success in athletics. Boys golf are state champs. So it's the first state title in 18 years. Girls golf got 5th in state. So the other thing that's really great, so highest state finish since 1990s. The other thing is that they were academic state champs. So this year alone, we have 3 girls sports that are academic state champs. So basketball, wrestling, and golf. And Brian said that at no point did any of the 3 teams have repeat athletes. So all different groups of students. Pretty impressive. Track and field, both boys and girls programs are heading to Yakima. They left this morning. So they'll be competing. Softball's got a young team, so Bryant said building for the future. So there's some success that they're looking for in potential. Same with baseball, bright future ahead. They fell just short. They lost a game at LC. Winner in state. Boys soccer similar. They lost in overtime. Kings 17th. You have students here. Boys tennis and they also have special. Huge amount of students participating in athletics, which is one of our criteria. How involved and how active and engaged our kids, right? So that's exciting. Awesome. This is a recent development. We had Whatcom County Sheriff's deputies join our bus route 2 last week. And we also had other deputies who were ahead so that when we had violated the stop paddle arms, they were able to call it better. Actually made 2 arrests, 2 citations. And these are significant tickets to encourage people not to do that. And so for me, I really love the community piece of it. And I especially love the safety piece of it. So we've been talking about trying to get cameras, a lot of complexity between whether cameras will be carried through by law enforcement agencies around the state. And so they've been great partners. A different route, and so make sure that people recognize that.
If you're going to do a fake citation, where they pull somebody over that they reviewed.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
And like get you on the bus and like, this is what not to do. Tell your parents not to do it. Like, they kind of know, be kind of funny.
Yeah, go turn left in the morning, that hiring.
Yeah.
Did we do anything to, out of appreciation in response to this partnership?
Well,
Tell me you delivered donuts or something to the sheriff.
Well, I think it's ongoing. Yeah, it's ongoing and they're gonna continue coming. So, yeah, it's some,
You get so like anxious driving in the morning, going by the buses. And so it's really, it's great.
and there are people who are just acting without any regard at all and speeding past. And so, yeah, it's been good. And I appreciate Kurt, it was just gonna happen one day.
I love it.
Kurt reached out, we got an MOU, we got to make sure we communicated and it was new. So it's good.
Remember that company years ago, I think your principal called Red Line, they come installs cameras on our buses. And then as they drive by, they take pictures of them and they get a ticket, and we would get a certain percentage of whatever, 5 or 7 towards that. But I think at the time, Tom wanted to lean against it, if I remember right, whatever money we get had to be spent for specifically safety only things in the district. Tom's like, and then I think the sheriff said too, he's like, the number of Canadian drivers you're gonna have, and they'll pay the tickets.
Well, it was, there's some complexity on whether that they would actually follow through on it too, because it could be overwhelming. So
I thought it was a great idea.
it's a great idea. All the pieces move in play. Yeah.
I do think a lot of it is education for our community too. You can really see where we're posting or sheriffs are posting proper driving protocols, especially for most of us who grew up here, and 2 lanes were never a thing. Or 2-lane roundabouts, like where do you go? How do you observe the bus? When do you stop? What lane stops? So. Big learning.
It's good. I think the joint effort is awesome. Yeah. We had the first Northwest Education and Workforce Coalition gathering. This is actually the second meeting, but they're calling it the first. It's actually came out of the Career Connect Northwest, which is a group out of BSD 189. And they are funded through OSPI and the government to enforce, and that's not the right word, to help with economic development in the region. So we had people from Highland, San Juan, Skagit, and Washington counties, the Northwest Workforce Council executive director was there. We also had K-12. Actually, the only K-12 district was Meridian. So Sean and I were there. We also had Northwest Career and Technical Academy. We had Skagit Valley College, Western Washington University, BTC, Rockland, Port of Bellingham, and the ESD. And the whole purpose was to bring K-12 and higher ed together and think about how the progression. So we talked about CTE, we talked about dual credit coursework, we talked about automatic enrollment. So we have an agreement with BTC if students hit all the marks, they will automatically BTC a lot of times that's an area. So really looking at ways to increase in each of those and think about how we prepare opportunities for other students. So this was the first time that everyone was pulled together. Pretty exciting to be a part of the conversation as we think about how will a skill center help in that? How will our programming at BTC, how would college in the classroom courses work? So there's a whole smattering of opportunities that we get in alignment for our kids. And so good conversation.
Now, who's the audience for this? So you're gathering the meeting of the minds. You've got people from the court and government and higher education. What's the desired outcome of this group?
It could have several. It could be increased CTE and dual credit coursework. It could be onboarding from K-12 into any one of those community colleges and then into Western or 4-year. BTC has several 4-year programs now, so different than before, so a lot of schools don't recognize that. Because the ports are there and because the Northwest Workforce Council is there, and they have the OA funds, which is to support out of school youth, so students who have not graduated or are not engaged. They have funding that they're able to use, so there are programs that they have for engagement in the workforce. And so trying to work with the ports of Island County, Skagit, Whatcom, San Juan, their connection to the economic engine is where we're going to see some partnerships. So the idea is to make sure that there are pathways, and not by the sense that what kids would be taking, but pathways between K-12 and higher ed and workforce. So that could be internships, apprenticeships, opportunities like.
And this is the first of its kind, or are there other groups like this through in other areas of the state that you could mimic or learn from?
There are Career Connect Northwest offices across the state, but I don't know if this kind of group together, so I'm not positive. We do have expanding programs. Talked to Director for Hours. She expects that we will have a med assisting program in the morning next year with NCTA. So right now we have fire science and welding, and then med assist will be in the morning, and then we have a morning fire science. We will also be offering an afternoon. So to be able to have some afternoon classes to balance out when students are in and out of high school helps with scheduling, so it balances things. This is a bit of trying to start those programs before we get off the ground.
So Medicist will be on our campus.
It'll be in the classroom where we have open doors right now. So we'll
And who will be leading them?
have to hire an instructor. So someone that would experience. That's NCTA's obligation. That's like their instructor.
And we'll be informed of all that, like if it's a partnership where we sell or any other. Or
Yeah, we have an agreement with them right now, so they run a program, they outfit the instructor and make sure that they're certified and have all. We have the end of the year music concert. We also have coming on June 2nd and 3rd, middle school has the choir and band concerts. And with that, the middle school's done Port Angeles doing parades, so we just want to give a nod to our music programs. Good work that they're doing. And then a few dates for you. So the band concert's on the 2nd, the choir concert's on the 3rd, graduation's on the 5th. It's 6 p.m. for all of you. It's actually 6:30 for the public, but for all of you, it's 6. So I goofed on that, but
is there a certain area you'd like us to?
probably ask you to convene at the district office and we'll walk over. Or I'll text you and say, meet me over at this spot. I'm trying to figure that out. Yeah, what's that? Probably good to get there, get a parking spot. I mean, that's the thing. Okay.
Parking spots.
Okay, yeah. And then we have regular school board meeting on the 11th. And then last day of school, if you can believe it, was on the 12th. And then we will do the budget hearing and approval on the 25th. And then we have our normal summer conference in Spokane, second 24th. And my ASA legislative conference in July. The retreat for the board is not July. That's all I have.
All right. Oh, obviously, we have no speaking board or student board representatives. Is there any information from board directors? Okay, well, we can sign some official documents and adjourn.
Angie? 1 second. So